This is a little demonstration of the basics of making a viewing frame. This is one of the things that is difficult for me to transition from the classroom to the you do it yourself. I hope this will work. What I would normally do in the classroom is I know everybody's drawing on the same size sheet of paper. I trim some cards. I'm using like index cards, and so that the proportions of the card are the same as the proportions of the paper. That's key here. The proportions of the card, and even more exactly, the proportions of the window that you're going to cut in that card are the same as the proportions of the paper. The same relationship of how tall the paper is to how wide. Now, if you are using 18 by 24 inch sheets and you have a ruler, what I would suggest you do is get a thick piece of paper or a piece of card and cut it to 4 1/2 by 6 inches. That's the same proportion as the sheet is. If you just divide by 4, if you divide 18 by 4, you get 4 1/2. You divide 24 by 4, you get 6. So the proportions remain the same. Here's another way, and this will work for whatever format of paper you're using, 18 by 24, or if you're using something else. You can fold it into fourths. We did this, I think, in one of the exercises. You can fold it into fourths. You need to be fairly precise and careful, and go back and forth and make sure that the creases are really strong. If you've got this stuff from where it tears out of the page, either remove that or at least fold it back. You don't want to include that at all as part of your paper, as part of your proportions. So when you get there, you can cut out, or if you're really good at it, tear out. But if you have a straight edge and a blade, I think cut out would be better, 1/4. This is still quite a large floppy piece of paper. So what I'm going to suggest is that you again fold it into fourths. And now you have a size that is workable and that can actually work as a viewing frame size. If I were really doing this, I'm going to try and make a quick demonstration just so that you get a sense of the idea here. I would now cut this down so that there's just one thickness. So let's assume for a moment that I've got that done. I've got just the one thickness. I'll put this here so that we can see a little more easily. You want to get a very sharp pencil. You're probably going to use one of your H series, really sharp graphite pencils. I'm going to use a carbon pencil, which I wouldn't recommend for this, but I'm using it because it'll make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. And what you want to do is, as exactly as possible, create a diagonal line that connects one corner to the other, and then also the other diagonal. You want to make it as exactly as you can from one corner to the other. Okay, so this is very close to the same proportions of your card. I mean, for all practical purposes is. You've got this right in the center. You're connecting the diagonal lines. Now, you want to take a straight edge. You can use the edge of a drawing pad if you don't have any kind of a ruler. This has actually got a centimeter rule rather than a inches rule. There's no absolute correct size for this. The correct thing is you're going to create four points, all of which fall right on these diagonal lines, and then you're going to cut out a little window. So I'm going to suggest roughly like 1.25 inches. So I'll say 1.25 inches. It could be 1 inch, it could be 1.5 inches. You want to try, I'm looking carefully at how these line up with those edges, right? You want this to be parallel here. All right, and you see how you've got a point here and a point here meeting that line. So now you want to make sure that you're again parallel to the edge. So I'm looking through here to make sure this is lining up with the edge, and then I can bring this line down until it hits that diagonal. And I can do the same thing over here, line it up. Bring it down until it hits this diagonal. And then we should be able to connect these two, and it should still be very close to exactly parallel to the edge. Okay, and then you're going to cut this out. Cut out this section here. So you want to use your straight edge and a blade, and you're actually going to cut this little window out so that you have something you can hold up and look through. I hope that makes sense. There are more explicit written directions with a little diagram that come along with the written assignment 4. And what this does is work like a viewfinder on a camera that, you know, if you're looking through an old-fashioned camera and you're looking through the lens and you're getting a preview of the picture, edge to edge, corner to corner, that's what this is. So this becomes a way of sort of previewing your picture, of determining where the edges are, and you can also sort of control your composition. What do you want to include? What do you want to leave out? So it is a really useful tool. If you do cut something like this out and you find that you're on too much of a floppy piece of paper, you can trace that window once you've got it. And so you have to get exactly the same size window, but you could use an index card, you could use a postcard somebody sends you in the mail. It becomes a little bit easier. Also, if you want to, you can put little lines around the window that act almost like a grid, right? To show you, okay, that's 1/4 of the way. And you can do it precisely with your ruler. I'm just guessing here. But you know, you can almost imagine a grid over this. Again, this part, cut this out. You're gonna literally remove it. So that this will be a big frame with an empty window in the middle.